Hello there, welcome to Look North. On the programme tonight. Preparing to travel, coach and rail companies gear up for people paying their last respects to the Queen.
We're just on our 8th coach. Are we still getting bookings?
We are, yeah.
Rail companies say they'll be putting extra services on and passengers should check for the most up-to-date information. Also tonight, we look at how the farming community feels about the new king and his interest in all things agricultural. Huddersfield Town search for a new manager will have the action from last night's football. And Brighouse and Rastrick Band are with us in the studio after winning the British Open for the first time in 44 years.
And the weather's getting cooler over the next few days. It's getting blustery in places too. I'll be back later in the programme with all the details.
Thanks for joining us this evening. Rail companies are asking people planning on travelling to London to pay their respects to Her Majesty the Queen to leave plenty of time for their journeys. Monday, as I'm sure you already know, has been designated a bank holiday, so that means changes to many services to enable as many staff as possible to be able to watch the funeral. So here is what we know so far. Let's have a look at the NHS appointments first. Across South Yorkshire, they won't go ahead as planned. Outpatient, GP and other routine appointments will be rescheduled, and there's a warning that urgent and emergency services are likely to be busier than usual. The Mid Yorkshire Hospitals NHS Trust, on the other hand, is running a normal service. It's hoped that most planned and outpatient appointments will go ahead in York and Scarborough as well. On the buses, First Bus and Arriva will be running a Sunday service on Monday across West Yorkshire and York. If buses are on the road during a ceremonial silence, First Bus drivers will observe it and stop if it's safe to do so. And the same will apply during the 1-minute silence at 8 o'clock on Sunday night. Bins. Now, they won't be collected on Monday in Wakefield, Scarborough, Leeds and Harrogate. Everyone's bins will be collected a day later, with a normal service resuming the following week. OK, let's go back to travel then, because thousands of people are expected in London over the next few days. One business from Barnsley is running at least 7 coaches. Tom Ingle has the latest.
Today's trip for Dave Mills is from his Barnsley base up to Ilkley. Come Monday, though, it will be a much bigger excursion, one which he didn't expect to make.
We've just filled a 7th coach, haven't we? So we're just on our 8th coach. Are we still getting bookings?
We are, yeah.
From the second the news broke, we had messages to his Facebook page. There were people ringing the office, we were getting emails saying, are we going down there for the funeral? Because obviously we've always done the royal weddings, we did the royal jubilee, so we're quite well known for going down for royal events.
You've presumably got quite a roster of trips, so have you had to juggle a lot of things around to fit in these extra runs down to London?
We're very lucky that we've had a few schools have cancelled, so we have a few college coaches, they've been cancelled, and then we had a day trip that was going, I want to say Skipton, and we rung the customer and said, do you want to go? We're happy to run the trip if you want to, and they all said we'd rather watch the funeral at home or go to London if you're going.
At the moment, Dave's company is only going for Monday's funeral, when the hours are a little more certain, rather than face the long queues when Her Majesty is lying in state.
A very early start on Friday. We're going to leave from Harrogate straight to London.
But there are those making their way to the capital earlier.
My brother was in the artillery, I was in the para engineers, and we've had grandparents in the army and the RAF. So the Queen has always been a very important figurehead for us all. Obviously, we swore our oath to the Queen.
At York railway station this morning, it was the usual mix of holidaymakers, day trippers and business travellers. This weekend, though, that's expected to change, with train operators urging those heading south to plan carefully.
It's really important for people who are travelling to London to not only get themselves to St Pancras, but also understand how they get from St Pancras to where they ultimately want to get to. There's loads of help and advice on the smartphone and in stations to help complete that journey, but really important to understand how you're going to complete that journey before you set off.
There are busy days ahead for those wishing to mark a national moment. By road, rail, or perhaps even air, many will feel compelled to make the journey from our part of the world to pay their respects. Tom Ingle, BBC Look North, Ilkley.
Well, some people have, of course, already made the journey south to see the Queen's coffin lying in state. James Taylor is a royal watcher from Chesterfield. He travelled down to London this morning and he joined the queue about 2 hours ago. I asked him how he was getting on.
Almost at the end of the queue now, although people have been joining after I've got here. We're past Shakespeare's Flow, past Southwark Cathedral. That's roughly where we are at the moment. Not quite sure how long it will take, but needless to say the queue is extremely long and several miles long.
We're told that at the moment it's over 4 miles long. How long are you prepared to stay there for?
Well, I'm prepared to stay for as long as it takes. I've got some food and some drink with me, so hopefully I should be all right.
James, you travelled down to London this morning. You saw the procession of the coffin being carried down the Mall. What was that like?
It was very emotional, actually, and you could tell because in the crowd, it had been quite good-natured until that point. You know, people joining and telling stories and their memories of the Queen. But as soon as the coffin left Buckingham Palace, everything went to complete silence. It was hush. You couldn't hear a pin drop along the Mall as the coffin went by.
And tell me, James, why do you want to be there? What does the Queen mean to you?
Well, she's somebody that I've respected and admired all my life. I can't remember a time when I wasn't interested. And I just thought, having been there so many times and seen her take part in processions down the Mall, during the Colour Estate visits, things like that, I really felt that it was appropriate to be there to see the coffin go there and see her for the last time and be able to pay my respects. And it was very emotional when we saw the Imperial State crown on top of the coffin and it's glinting in the sunlight.
And what will be going through your mind, James, when you do eventually get into Westminster and see the coffin?
Again, I think it'll be something that's quite emotional to be able to see the coffin up close and to be able to see the Imperial State crown there. And it's when you see things like that that you do really realise that she is gone and it is the end of an era.
Well, I hope the queue isn't too long for you, James. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Well, if you've seen all the coverage on the news over the last few days and you really want to head down to London in the coming days, then please get in touch with me. look.north@bbc.co.uk or send us a message on Facebook @BBC Yorkshire. Let us know if you are planning on heading down to London and have a safe journey. Now, as Prince of Wales, King Charles has always supported the country's rural and farming communities. He feels strongly about their welfare and their need to protect them and has been a regular at the Great Yorkshire Show over the years. So today, on British Farming Day, we look at how the farming community feels about the new king and his interest in and his knowledge of all things agricultural. Abigiola reports.
As patron of the Yorkshire Agricultural Society, King Charles has been a regular visitor to the Great Yorkshire Show, most recently last year.
You can't go green if you're actually in the red. So it's perhaps self-evident that people cannot do things differently if they don't know what is being asked of them.
His passion for the environment and support for farming over the years have been much appreciated by farmers in Yorkshire.
He's certainly put farming on the map, and I think his contribution in particular, the support for family farms, which are the backbone of the industry. And as I said earlier, it's important to have somebody that understands what the industry requires. The countryside just doesn't happen. It's created by those people that live and work on the land, and that is very helpful, really, if you've somebody there that is giving you that support.
Annabelle is the 5th generation of her family to farm. She grows strawberries near Leeds and says King Charles has given farming a very public voice.
King Charles has been very ahead of his time, talking about sustainability, even to several months ago talking about how we look after the soil, how we regenerate and how farming has to evolve, and even down to trying to look after the smaller farms, not end up with just huge farms. Mass producing. We have to take care of the small ones too.
In 2010, as Prince of Wales, King Charles founded the Countryside Fund with the aim of empowering family farms and rural communities. Since then, they've invested more than £10 million in over 400 projects. The King's support for farmers and their produce has also been invaluable for the wool industry. West Yorkshire is home to the only 2 plants in Europe that process raw wool. King Charles launched a campaign to promote the fabric.
Charles, for the last 12 years, through his patronage as Prince of Wales, has really supported the Campaign for Wool. It's too early to say exactly what his involvement will be, but we're very confident that the legacy he has built will continue into the future.
The countryside and its custodians have long been close to the King's heart. The question is now, can he continue to offer such vocal support as he steps into his new role as monarch? Abby Jayola, BBC Look North.
You're watching Wednesday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. How different communities across Yorkshire are celebrating the life of Queen Elizabeth. Let's take a look at some other news across the region now. Councillors in Leeds have been paying their tributes to the Queen today. 38 members made speeches. Some recalled the Queen's visit to the city in 1958. Others spoke about how she'd inspired them to take on a life of public service.
There's a real tribute to the Queen's service to the city and to the country, and as a representative of our country abroad. We also heard a lot about people's experiences about how people's lives and organisations in Leeds have been touched by the late Queen over the last 70 years, and many anecdotes and memories of people knowing and seeing her visiting Leeds or attending events that she was at.
Let's take a look at some sport now. In football, Huddersfield Town are looking for another new head coach tonight. Danny Schofield has been sacked following last night's home defeat to Wigan, which was the Terriers' 7th loss from 9 matches so far this season. By contrast, Sheffield United in particular couldn't be feeling better about themselves. Here's Paul Ogden.
We hear a lot of talk these days about football moments. Huddersfield Town suffered several difficult moments last night, resulting in a 6 defeat from just 8 championship matches and the decision to sack Danny Schofield as head coach. Tom Lees managed to scramble a late equaliser for Town, but still they failed to hold on even to a point. Lang drilled in Wigan's winner, leaving Huddersfield still deep in the relegation zone and in search of a new team manager yet again, a little over 2 months after Schofield's appointment. Contrast Sheffield United, who are now 4 points clear as championship leaders. Into injury time at Swansea and locked at 0-0, the Blades seized their moment to take all 3 points. Reda Kadra finished off Brewster's breakaway in style to complete a 1-0 victory. Those celebrations shared by players and fans, a snapshot of United's season so far. In League One, Sheffield Wednesday weren't far behind on the euphoria scale after their thumping 3-0 win at Morecambe. All 3 goals came in the final quarter of the match from Windus, Byers and Michael Smith. Wednesday stay 4th in the table on a healthy 16 points already. Barnsley had to settle for a 1-1 draw at home to Port Vale. Liam Kitching's opener cancelled out with just 7 minutes remaining at Oakwell. In League 2, Bradford City's 3rd win from their last 4 fixtures came at Tranmere. Both goals provided by Andy Cook, starting just 3 minutes into the match. Bradford City rise up to 6th in the League 2 table. That's 1 place above Doncaster Rovers, who suffered a 2-0 loss away at Barrow. And Harrogate Town were defeated for a 4th consecutive league match, 1-0 by Salford. Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
There's some important news from Super League today. Wakefield Trinity have confirmed Mark Applegarth as their new head coach. Applegarth is a former Trinity player and for the past 2 years has been working his way up through the coaching ranks at his hometown club. Best of luck to Mark. And it's an All Yorkshire Women's Super League Grand Final on Sunday. League leaders, Shield winners, York City Knights are up against Leeds Rhinos, who lost the Challenge Cup final at St Helens back in May. All but one of the 6 players nominated for the Women of Steel Award, which goes to the League's Player of the Year, are either from York or Leeds, including the Knights co-captain, Sinead Peach. Fantastic.
It'll be great for the sport, it'll be great for the club and the city of York, you know, the first time I'm reaching a grand final. So, you know, me, a girl from Leeds, you know, I can't wait to play on Sunday and hopefully come out victorious.
Yeah, let's hope so. Come on, ladies. Let's turn back to Her Majesty the Queen now. During her reign, she met hundreds of people during her many visits with Prince Philip to our region. You've been telling us all week about the day you met the monarch, and you've been sharing more of your stories about what she said in those very private moments.
My name is Lo Armstrong, And in 1969, I was on board Her Majesty's submarine Valiant, and the Valiant was the first all-British nuclear submarine, which we were quite proud of. An officer came along and he said, I've got a little job for you. There's a big squall up top and it was raining everything. So he said, the Queen must not get wet. After about 3/4 of an hour or an hour, it felt as though we'd been in a shower with our clothes on, and I was shaking like a leaf. And the Queen said goodbye to the officers and the captain, and just as she went off, she stared at me and said, you look freezing. Would a tot of rum warm you up? She said to the captain, Captain, please see that these men get an extra tot of rum. So that meant I would get 2, because I got one, my daily one, and this one from the Queen. And then she said, splice the main brace, 3/8 of a pint of rum. And that's how I met the Queen. And she's a lovely lady and very observant, and God bless her.
I'm Anna Dyson. I used to run a community cafe in Hare Hills in Leeds.
I'm Fadlul Haq. I'm Center Manager at the Bangladeshi Youth Organization in Bradford. And we went to meet the Queen to celebrate multi-faith communities. When we were coming inside the building, as we were guided in, and we never expected the Queen will be there to receive us, right? As we entered, there she was, shaking hand with us, and I was shaking like this, right?
I'm Sophie, and I met the Queen when I was 6 at Scarborough Open Air Theatre. I got picked out of a hat randomly to go and present her with some flowers. I wore this dress, which was very excited for a new dress, and some shoes with a little heel on, which made me feel a bit more grown up on the day. I remember getting a big rule book of things to not do and do, and I remember going to my ballet club and practicing my curtsy so that I got it perfect for the Queen. But she seemed really friendly and she looked really friendly. I think she's a really powerful and inspirational woman to lots of women around the country, because she's dedicated her life since a very young age to the country and doing what's right for us. I always think I was very lucky to meet her.
Oh, and such lovely videos as well to cherish. The Queen's influence was far-reaching. As the head of the Commonwealth, she often referred to the countries within it as the family of nations. That sense of belonging is really clear to see the outpouring of grief from across all communities. Now, since her passing, many faith groups have held services in reverence of the reign. Sabia Pervez attended one in Bradford today.
Songs of praise are offered as the Aarti, a Hindu religious ritual, is performed in front of the Hindu deity and a portrait of the late Queen Elizabeth II. These Indian ladies have gathered together in Bradford today to pray for the Queen and reflect on her reign.
It's like a big loss to me. Felt like I lost my mother again. I lost my mother a few years back and feel like same feeling again. It's the connection with her we feel as a mother. She not only encouraged Christian community, but all the communities. She welcomed everyone with open heart. That was the feeling we all got.
As they finished their prayers and settled for lunch, the women shared their sense of profound loss following the death of Her Majesty.
I was born in Africa, and Queen came when I was very young to Africa, and we were given that pencils and all that with, her name and everything on. And she's been such a, when she died, I felt like, I've lost a mother. I cried because I wanted to come and pay respects for her and pray for the God to give her, to keep her, to look after her.
I hope King Charles do the same thing, like the Queen did. We're hoping that he does the same service, he gives us the same service. That's what only we can hope only, but whatever Queen did it, I'm sure nobody else can do.
The Queen's been like our mother since we have been here in this country from 1967, and we'd like to honour her and we respect her, and that's why we are here.
It's very sad news, very, very sad news. We all upset and sad, but we just pray for her that she has a good another Atma, soul, wherever she gets another birth. And we all got together here for her as well, for the Queen as well.
The prayers and sombre songs recited in languages foreign to most are an indication of a monarch whose influence spanned the globe. A monarch whose reign will be studied and revered for many years to come. Sabir Pervez, BBC Look North, Bradford.
Now, this may not be a widely known fact, but Her Majesty the Queen was actually the chief patron of the British Open Brass Band Championships, were held last weekend. It's the oldest and most prestigious band competition in the world. Now, due to COVID, it hasn't been able to be on for a few years, but the winners, I am delighted to say, were the Brighouse and Rastrick Band. They're here in the studio with us, but first, before I introduce them, let's take a look at that winning performance. Wonderful sound. Well, joining me now in the studio is Bethan, Mike and Chris. Congratulations to you. First of all, let's talk about this Bobby Dazzler. Look at that! That's what you came home with. Isn't that fantastic? How many people did it take to carry that home?
A couple of them. Yeah, there's a big case at that company as well.
Yeah, sure. Now, Bethan, first time in 44 years that your band has won this. What does it mean to win something like this?
It's incredible. It's really, really good. And actually, with winning this, we've qualified for the European Championships as well. So that will be held in 2024. But it's just amazing for the band. We haven't won this in 44 years. So the last time we won this was 1978. So it's an amazing feeling, yeah.
Now, Chris, I know you've been in the band, just over a year?
Yeah.
So are you maybe the secret weapon to success here?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Now, what is it you think that clinched it? Because there's, 18 bands, is that right? You all play the same piece. And, of course, you beat off stiff competition from bands across the country and also some really good Yorkshire bands as well.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of great bands. I think, the adjudicators were kind of looking for a special something, I guess. They'd had a conversation with the composer of the piece, Edward Gregson, before. So I think there's a lot that they were looking for, that they knew that they were looking for, a certain sound maybe that we clearly had, I guess.
And did you have a feeling, Bethan, that, yes, we've done it when you performed?
It was a pretty good feeling when we came off stage. We did feel very happy with the performance when we came off stage. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's always down to whatever the adjudicators are looking for on that particular day. And we were very lucky.
You did. Yeah. So Mike, tell me, because obviously last weekend, that's when the competition was. Her Majesty was a patron of the competition, and this running so close to her passing, what was the atmosphere like?
I think a lot of people were quite confused to start with, because we obviously didn't know whether the competition was going to go ahead. So there was all that kind of stipulations to what was going to happen. I think there was a massive amount of relief that the competition was going ahead in some respects, but they had a very sombre feel about the day. There was obviously a lovely tribute paid to Her Majesty at the start of the competition. They played the national anthem twice, once to open the competition and obviously to close it. But obviously don't forget, we've come off the back of COVID. This competition should have happened 2 years ago, so we've been kind of rehearsing this piece for a couple of years, and there was that massive relief to actually be on stage. So it's very, very mixed emotions on the day, I think.
But really poignant, actually, Chris, that you did win this on the year of the patron's passing.
That's right, yeah. And we do hope that King Charles III will carry on that patronage. It's something that the first time that the Queen was... Actually, the patron was 1952, the year of her coronation. So, it's a long history that the British Open has with the royal family. So hopefully it'll continue.
Now, you are competition winners, so if anyone wants to come and see you, demand will be high. When is your next performance, Bethan?
So we are actually performing in Ireland in a couple of weeks.
Bit far for me, that one.
Yeah, so the next one that is up north is on the 22nd of October at Huddersfield Town Hall. Yep. And it's a joint concert with Foden's band.
Yeah, the current national champions as well.
Fantastic. Now, last question. Who gets to put this on the mantelpiece?
Not sure if anyone has one big enough, do you?
No, or strong enough. But this does go with you, doesn't it, to all your competitions?
Yes.
Fantastic. Need strong muscles. It looks like you've all got them. Thank you very much for coming in, and best of luck with what comes next.
Thank you.
Keely, fancy lifting it?
Well, I'm not sure I'd want to try. I'll leave it to you guys. It's going to be cooler as we head through the next few days. Let's take a little look at some of the pictures that have come in over the last 24 hours. The first picture that we would like to show you, some lovely colours at dusk yesterday, a lovely sunset there near Wakefield. A rather greyer story to start this morning in our second picture. That was Sutton near Doncaster. If we can look at our second picture. Well, it was a foggy one. There we go. It was a foggy one for many of us this morning. And the third picture, perhaps not surprising that this is Fewston Reservoir, but Nick says it's not every day you get to walk into the middle of a reservoir. And there's actually not very much rain in the forecast for the foreseeable, certainly not until the middle of next week. What there is quite cold conditions over the next few days. So we are looking at it getting cooler as we head through Thursday, and particularly I think you'll feel it on Friday. So starting to feel a bit cooler tomorrow, but really quite chilly on Friday, particularly for the coast. You can see on the pressure chart the winds coming down from the north. A few showers perhaps in the east, particularly along the coast. There could be the odd heavy one on Friday. Otherwise, a good deal of dry weather because of this area of high pressure. We've had variable amounts of cloud through today, as you can see from the satellite picture. And that cloud perhaps thick enough through this evening and overnight, particularly in the east, to squeeze out just the odd light shower. But generally, it will be a dry story. More cloud compared with last night, so it won't be as cold as it was last night. The top of the Vale of York dropped back to around 5 degrees. And it may well be towards the end of the night we get temperatures a little cooler than this across far north of North Yorkshire. But generally, they won't be as low as last night. Let's have a quick look at those high water times then in Bridlington at 8:13 and at 8:05 in Filey. So any remaining cloud across parts of South Yorkshire will move away, and there'll actually be plenty of sunshine through tomorrow morning. What we'll find is cloud will bubble up and spread out for the middle part of the day, so more cloud as the day goes on. It could be thick enough for the odd light shower in the east, but for most places it is going to be dry, and temperatures will get up to around 16 or 17 degrees. Cooler still on Friday. There'll also be quite a few coastal showers into Friday, and some of those could be on the heavy side. There'll also be a strong wind along the coast, gusts in excess of 40 to 45 miles an hour. Inland, the breeze will be a little bit lighter. It'll be drier too. And then as we head through the weekend, a lot of dry and settled weather to come. It won't be as windy. It won't be quite as chilly, and there'll be some sunshine first thing in the morning and last thing in the afternoon, Amy.
Not used to a live audience, are you, for your forecast?
It's lovely. You can come again.
Well, that's it from us. Thanks so much for your time. Ian White is going to be here on the late news this morning from all of us. Good night.